Topic as of late has been the tactics by which police disperse large crowds of people. And as an initial disclaimer, I'm going to say don't take this video as an endorsement of Occupy if you hate Occupy for whatever reason, because I'm going to reference Occupy a lot, but that's not based on how much I adore Occupy. It's merely based on the fact that they're the most recent in mass assemblies of peaceful protesters that have had used extreme and extensive amounts of force against them by the police. So, for example, on the anniversary of Occupy Wall Street, the actual initial Wall Street occupation, there were huge protests all throughout the city there. And what the result of that protest was called a new term that I hope we've officially coined now because it's really good, a police riot. And what that was there were huge marches all throughout the city, but they were 100% peaceful. And then police came on the scene and immediately started using force to disperse everyone. This resulted in people that were medics who are trained to not even do anything but be there to help someone if they need medical attention, being grabbed and having their heads slammed into glass, almost shattering glasses, putting the big spider cracks all throughout glass panes everywhere, blood flowing literally on the streets. And this is because in part of all the methods riot police have of dispersing large crowds. They have tear gas, stun grenades and flash grenades. They have high-frequency sound weapons that are mounted on top of like armored vans to shoot high-frequency sound waves into crowds of people. And they actually recently came up with a spin-off off of that where it shoots microwaves, so it's immense bursts of heat to disperse people. And since these are all non-lethal forms of disbursement, I'm going to keep doing that, I guess, they've all been given the okay for police to use in these scenarios. But they shouldn't be used in these scenarios because, well, for one thing, they're actually not safe. For the heat cannon, I guess, I don't know what you want to call that, for the heat ray, that's not any better, but whatever, for the heat ray, when they were testing it out, during the test, they had like people who were like in the military stand there and then get hit with it and try and stand there as long as they could, and they would usually stand there and turn on and they go, whoa, like instantly. And these are like military guys, so they're tough. But during that testing, they actually sent people to the hospital for different degree burns. I think there was like second and third degree, at least second degree burns were incurred using this during their testing, and they still gave it the okay. So let's look forward to that being rolled out. And with the original version of it, the sound frequency cannon thing, there are multiple cases of people going deaf because the van just rolls up, starts using it, and then it's just too loud and people are already there, and then it just, all this high frequency sound comes out of nowhere, and then they're deaf for the rest of their life. Even if you're in favor of that, because you say, well, they shouldn't be protesting in the streets to where there's enough time for a van to pull up and then use that. Well, then you know what? You're saying that you're in favor of corporal punishment and that these people, for doing that, for breaking whatever law they were breaking, deserve to be made deaf by our criminal justice system. Even if that's the case, you don't get to make them deaf before they've been peacefully arrested, taken through court and had a fair trial, and then assigned that punishment. So any way you slice it, that's unacceptable. In Occupy Oakland recently, there's a video of when they came in there. It was an attempt, I think, to resettle the camp after it was dispersed, and police came in to disperse the new gathering because they're not just going to let them resettle. But in doing so, they immediately show up. They've got a huge line across one street. The mass of people are right here. There's a line of cops right here. And then there's also a line of cops approaching from this way, so everyone's focused over here. And these cops rain in like tear gas canisters all from over there and start firing rubber bullets. That's another thing they use. And they just unload, and there's this huge wave of people rolling back from that offensive attack. Call a spade a spade. Some people notice one guy's lying on the ground, and upon noticing that, they actually see that his head's been busted open and there's blood all over his face on the side of his head, and he's just lying there on the ground, not moving. So about 6 to 10 people rush back forward to circle him, and are like, hey, come on. They're trying to help him up, trying to see if he's conscious. And the police had stopped firing briefly, which is how they even noticed, because the tear gas started to disperse a little bit, and they had stopped marching in from over here. So people were like, okay, we're going to go try and help him. And when they went to try and help him, they'd circle around and were trying to get him up and stuff. And then one of the cops that was over here, that was just holding the line behind an actual, one of those steel fence thing barricades, actually just sort of, there's a huge line, I would say, upwards of 30, 40 cops just in a line. One of them just takes a step back, aims up a little bit, and shoots. And you see this little chunk of something fly over there and land in the middle of the group, circled around the person, and goes in right about here. And you see the people where it landed go, what's that? And then you see, boom, an explosion. Not a huge, it was a nuke or anything. I'm not exaggerating. There was an explosion probably this large. I don't know if you can see that. This large. But, so they're surrounded by someone who's knocked unconscious and is bloody. Reports later show that he might actually suffer brain damage, because theoretically he was hit by a tear gas canister just being fired indiscriminately into the crowd and got hit in the head. But even so, let's say that's okay, because that was an honest mistake, because you're a police officer, so you get to fire indiscriminately into crowds. That sounds fair. But even so, when they're assembling around to try and get him out and try and get him away from what was a marching towards him line of cops, a cop can't just fire a stun grenade in there and have an explosion, and then when they're trying to get him, it blows my mind that is an acceptable thing for a police officer to do under any circumstance. All the other police officers were just standing there watching them. The police officers weren't more than 2 yards away from them, and no one was being aggressive towards them at all. They all circled around them to see what they could do. So, in the spirit of how people always say, about communism, for example, I use this example a lot, but, we tried communism, that doesn't work, we have evidence of that. Well, you know what? We've tried giving the police all these weapons and all this technology to disperse crowds, because we don't want riots to happen in cities, and we don't want people who aren't at fault, even for the cause of the riot, even what the riot's cause is, or the cause of the riot, to be affected by that, because that's not fair. So we have police that will come in riot units. Well, you know what? Police have empirically proven through this trial and error that we've conducted in this country that they can't handle that responsibility responsibly. They abuse it. They shoot gas canisters at people's heads. They fire into groups of people huddled around someone who's possibly dead from getting hit in the face by a gas canister, trying to drag him away. They fire stun grenades into there. They use deafening, literally, sound weapons. They have a new thing that will burn you in the 3rd degree. These are all unacceptable methods. There's numerous cases of people being shot in the eye with rubber bullets and stuff like that, and being blinded. All these things are unacceptable, not because they're unacceptable in an idealistic world, but because in the real world that we live in, police officers have proven that they can't be trusted with this technology. So, police officers, and I've commented on this before, should have a tranquilizer gun, to theoretically however many they would need, with different dosages to try and gauge it so they don't just OD anyone they shoot with a tranquilizer gun. But some method, we can figure that out. Tasers and their batons. Now all that stuff can still be abused. You can fire 30 shots of the tranquilizers and kill anyone. You can beat somebody to death with a baton. You can just continue to tase somebody over and over and over. But these are all much less lethal forms than the forms they are prescribed to now. And on the other side of the coin, people say, well, you're taking away their ability to stop riots and stuff like that. If we send in hundreds of police in riot gear with batons, tasers, and tranquilizer guns, and they can't put down a riot, then that means such a huge segment of the society is involved in that riot that needs to be something that's not put down by police, but is the cause of that, whether it be the actual thing that incited the riot to break out violently, or the cause that the rioters have and are rioting for, needs to be addressed at its core by the government. And this is a way to snap the government into recognition of that. So while I'm not in favor of having riots in every city whenever we want to build a pass, if the threat of being in jail for rioting, all the body armor, the little shields, the tasers, the tranquilizer guns, the batons on hundreds of police can't stop a riot, that is a democratic uprising. That's what that's categorized as. So, in the spirit of democracy, we won't have the police state put down any democratic uprisings. So again, I am in no ways in favor of that. I think peaceful democratic uprisings are the way to go. But even so, and once again, back in reality where that doesn't always happen, we can't have the police killing people or giving them brain damage or shooting stun grenades onto wounded people and medics around them, or slamming medics' heads into glass panes. And if we continue with our current system, that's all we're going to have more of. And if we continue with our current system and continue to condone that, they're only going to go further and further out. So we need to roll back their abilities to disperse violent rioters, which in often cases are just peaceful assemblies of people, whether that be Occupy, whether that be the Tea Party, whether that be some group of anarchists, whether that be some group of neocons, whatever group it be. If they're peacefully protesting, you shouldn't disturb them. And if they're rioting, the prescribed amounts of force that I've said you can use, if that's not enough, then that's a systemic problem in the structure of our government that should be addressed by politicians, not by police.